Welcome to Galactic Historian. This is a series where I break down the lore of sci-fi universes. If you enjoy these, please like the video, and be sure to leave any other questions you might have in the comments below. Today, we'll be discussing the institution at the heart of what many people believe is the best part of humanity, a group dedicated to education, service, and mutual aid, the Rust Society. This society is a group of independent haulers and salvagers dedicated to improving their own job prospects and safety through mentorships, education, and information networks. While on paper, the group's only requirement is that its members are independent of any corporation, freelancers dedicated to their trade. In reality, the organization seeks to foster an obligation to help others, support their communities, and come to the aid of places corporations and governments disregard because of danger or lack of profit. This ethos can be traced back to the founding of the organization nearly 500 years ago. Franklin Young, known by his call sign as Knox, was an independent hauler working out of the Caliban system. His efforts to make a living were dismal at best, however, often failing to find work or good info to help scratch out a living hauling. His best leads often came from a grizzled group of aging pilots who hung out at a bar called Delilah in the city of Boro on the main planet of Creon. This group would not only give Knox good leads for jobs, but also sound advice on how to make it as a solo hauler. Knox came to call this group of old pilots the Rust Society, after a potent alcoholic drink called rust that was popular on the planet. He used the advice and tips well enough to scrape together a living as a solo hauler, but as time went on, fewer and fewer of the old veterans were left, until he found himself the oldest member of this informal group, doling out advice to newcomers who sought his wisdom and connections. He did this free of charge, and even gave jobs to struggling youngsters when even he himself needed the work, taking lucrative but dangerous runs into the Oberon system to make up the difference. These runs would eventually catch up to him, though. On a particularly harrowing route in 2436, he was ambushed by outlaws and nearly killed. While he eventually made a full recovery, the scars from the attack made it hard for Young to pilot ships, and eventually forced him to retire. While his hauling days were over, he was able to land a job working in comm ops for a local hangar. There, he picked up even more useful information as he continued to hold court in Delilah's. His information brought in new life and expanded the little social club even more, ushering a golden age for the Rust Society. Within 5 years, Knox quit his job to entirely focus on managing their growing group. By then, Delilah's couldn't hold them all, requiring a new venue. This change added membership dues, but also allowed for a mentorship program, weekly system security reports, and helped boycott businesses that abused solo haulers. From what started out as a few old pilots sharing a drink, had become a vibrant and growing trade guild for haulers and salvagers of the Caliban system. As they grew, word spread along the trade lanes that the Rust Society members plied, and it wasn't long before chapters appeared in Oberon and Null. Lawless systems Knox had learned firsthand were dangerous for solo pilots. By connecting with these new chapters, they increased their numbers and their information, allowing for more eyes and more intelligence on outlaw operations and good deals for their members could take advantage of. In 2477, Knox had to step down from his leadership role in the society due to his failing health, but remained a brain trust and advisor until his death in 2479. The story goes that his funeral was so well attended that it only ended when every single drop of rust was consumed on Creon. However, the careful leadership of Knox ensured that the Rust Society would continue to grow and continue to become more influential in the region. That all changed in 2541, when humanity found itself in its first interspecies war with the Tavaran. The war devastated human society, specifically the region of space where the Rust Society operated in. While the UPE Navy did its best to secure supply lines by recruiting many solo haulers into a growing merchant navy, many companies and larger hauler groups avoided running supplies to the areas threatened by the Tavaran. Thus, those who lived near the front lines quickly found themselves out of vital supplies. This is where the Rust Society stepped in. Using its intelligence network and organizations, the Society quickly became a lifeline for those systems, gathering food, organizing convoys, and patrolling shipping lanes to secure the routes. They did this with almost no help from the military or the government, all because these places were their homes and their livelihoods. Their level of dedication and organization impressed the military officials in charge of the defense of the region, possibly including Ivor Mezer himself. Soldiers returning home from the First Tavaran War would turn to the Rust Society as they sought to turn their flight experience into careers. This caused new chapters to form and their influence to grow in the post-war period. While this led to a boom in membership, the real expansion and the event that made the Rust Society what it is today came during the Second Tavaran War. During the war, the Tavarans' reliance on asymmetrical warfare meant that they never truly controlled any system. However, their mere presence in a system threatened all systems nearby, paralyzing trade. Once again, the Rust Society organized convoys, patrolled trade routes, and used their networks to gather information on Tavaran movements and activity. The civilian population grew to rely on the group more and more during the war, earning them wider acclaim and reputation for their dedication to their craft. They became so valuable, in fact, that the Mezers themselves started to pour money into the Rust Society to help their operations, which led to massive growth during the war. Once again, returning soldiers began to form their own chapters of the Rust Society, and this time the Society waived the first-year membership fees for veterans and instituted special expanded work and mentorship programs to get these newly minted members the skills they needed to be haulers and salvagers. This would result in a massive post-war employment boom, with millions of vets getting their first jobs out of the service with the Rust Society. The leader of the group during this time, Gordon DeSalvo, saw this as an opportunity to turn a haulers guild into a political organization for the benefit of all independent pilots. He set out to lobby the government for tax breaks and to remove regulations on independent operations. This move had a downside. Many independent haulers were distasteful of the oppressive Mezers. This move more closely linked the Rust Society with the dictators, and as a result, the Society would experience a sharp drop in membership by the end of the 27th century. This was the first time this would happen in the group's history. Many inside the Rust Society had similar feelings towards the Mezer regime and began to move to ban members from taking government contracts. This would anger those in the Society that relied on those government contracts to make their living. In the end, this argument would cause a massive rift in the organization between the pro and anti-Mezer sides. The tensions grew and grew until they exploded in 2692, when a Rust Society conference broke out into a full-blown riot. In the end, the leaders were forced to deal with the issue, siding with the anti-Mezers and banned government contracts. 2/3 of the chapters approved of the measure, thus ending the Rust Society's participation in politics. In the end, this move likely saved the group from forced dissolution, as 100 years later, the last Mezer met his bloody end, and many of the groups and corporations close to the Mezers were dissolved or torn down. Their decision to leave politics might just be the most important decision ever made by the Rust Society. For 500 years, the Rust Society has improved the lives of all residents in the UAE. This loose collective of independent haulers and salvagers continue to share profitable information on the best trade routes and dangerous areas with one another, allowing them to support themselves while also being the lifeline of many fringe areas in and out of the UAE, who have been deemed too unprofitable or too dangerous. To them, the Rust Society is their symbol of hope. It's not too hard to spot a member of the Society. They often sport custom armor or gear in the group's colors, red and tan. And where you find one, you will find more, as they travel in groups. Alone, they may be independent haulers, but together, they have learned that they are more than the sum of their parts. Thanks for watching our look at the Rust Society. I want to thank the people on screen now for their continued support of this program on Patreon. If you want to see more of these videos, consider becoming a patron yourself for as low as $5. What did you think of the Rust Society? Interested in adding to the storied legacy of Nox? Let me know what you think and more in the comments below. And as always, remember, ex historia ad astra.